Hey, what's going on, guys? It is Foxy98 here. Welcome back to a brand new video for you guys today here on the channel. Today we're here with another episode of my F1 2020 My Team Career Modes here for Season 2 at the French Grand Prix. If you guys end up enjoying today's video, feel free to drop the video a like and subscribe to the channel if you're new around here as well, as we try to make our way towards 20,000 subscribers, hopefully by the end of the year. But as you can see, we're getting ready to go into FP1 for the French Grand Prix. And what I actually found out is that my ICE, my very first ICE, is on 91%. As soon as your car goes over 90% on any of the elements, you physically are not allowed to use them. So I was trying to literally run everything to the point where it blew up. Yeah, it wouldn't even let me. So that's a little bit annoying. I don't really care if my car blew up, to be honest. It is what it is. But as you can see, we're re-putting our sponsors back onto the car because after the Azerbaijan Grand Prix, I believe it was, I actually kind of forgot to, you know, put the sponsors back on. Whoops. Anyway, we're going to do that now. As you can see, everything is now onto the car, and as our car, as I've said many, many times, looks as beautiful and as lovely as always, and we'll move onwards now. But as you can see, we've got a lot of upgrades in the pipeline. Whether they come is another matter. So, the cockpit weight reduction has come onto the car. The DRS activation mechanism is onto the car. Before we can see the rest, as you can see now, we have now got the fastest car on the grid in Formula 1, as we now take on an invitational event, which was a pursuit whereby you had to tackle the French Grand Prix, 3 laps of it. Funnily enough, we'll go into the French Grand Prix afterwards. And you had 3 laps to take out, in my format, as you can see there, completely wiping out the McLaren there. 5 1998 McLarens, 1998, 1988 McLarens, and you were in Damon Hill's Championship Williams, which I still believe, personally, is my all-time favourite Williams livery, this Rothmans Williams. I just thought it was absolutely beautiful. Obviously, lots of contenders on that one, but this one for me just kind of trumps the lot, really, on that front. But as you can see, we did that very, very nicely, passed that one. It was a little bit harder than I thought. On my first lap, I was definitely struggling to get used to the Williams car around the circuit, but then eventually lap 2 and 3, I felt quite comfortable, and I got on with it, and we managed to get through and complete the laps in there, and we completed the goal, got the $150,000 and also the 1,000 team acclaim bonus in there as well. But moving onwards then, we have now got, we've got some redesigned brake ducts upgrade, which is absolutely awesome, some more money and resource points, reaction training, promotion filming, and then crucially, a fuel technology upgrade. So we've got 4 upgrades that have got onto the car in time for the French Grand Prix, which means we now have the best power on the grid, the best chassis on the grid, and the best aerodynamics on the grid. Absolutely fantastic. Ignore that bit. Ignore the durability piece. Don't really care about that. It's fine. Ignore it. It's absolutely not a problem. But as you can see, we're heading into this Grand Prix. More wet races, lads. I thought we were done with them. Clearly not. We're going to be having a full wet French Grand Prix, although it's meant to dry out later on, so much more changeable conditions this time around. But just as we now go in towards the practice session here, we're going to have another look probably at the R&D tree, because it does tend to change when you go into a Grand Prix weekend. So I just wanted to double check to see where we genuinely were in terms of car performances, and also where I fancied making my upgrades going forwards. You see Renault have closed up on the chassis department, pretty much level with ourselves now. Renault have been absolutely rapid with their upgrades this season. They've been flying through them. They've got tied the best chassis. They've got one of the best aerodynamics just behind us. Powertrain, they're sort of in the middle. And durability, I think they're high up as well. So Renault are really, really threatening in this season. You can see them there. We've just about jumped in front of Mercedes, but look at that gap between ourselves and Renault. It's not really that much if you put it into perspective. So yeah, ourselves, Mercedes and Renault are going to be having a couple of scraps, and it's awesome to see a different team fighting at the top there. But we finished all of the practice sessions now, which does mean that we're now up to 1,600 resource points, and it also means, of course, I can go ahead and start developing in a new area. And what I decided to do is further stamp my authority in the aerodynamic department, and I'm going to go ahead and invest in new major front downforce upgrades and then a rear downforce upgrade moving forwards. I want to be at a point where I'm very strong all round like I am now, but then like very dominant in one area. So it means then that by the time I focus on the other areas that maybe drop back just a tiny little bit, I can go back to the area where I was strongest at, still be either strongest or literally level like I am with the chassis, upgrade that again, and then move forwards. It's a tactic that I've been running, and it's clearly working because we're pretty much best everywhere. So, into qualifying now and the French Grand Prix, and we've got the start-finish line to go P2 behind Ocon with 126.7. showcasing that the Renaults have got very, very good paces. We split them on the front row of the grid, and that was enough for me to get through into Q2. I didn't really want to do any more lap times, and so I skip on through. And not only do I get through into Q2, so does Sergio Perez. But the Mercedes cars and the Ferraris do get themselves involved in the action, and we're safely through with the usuals, Haas, Alfa Romeo, and Williams cars all getting knocked out in Q1, with the Red Bulls pretty much solidifying themselves in the midfield now, which is a bit of a shame for them on that front. In towards Q2 now, and once again, I'm going for one lap and one lap only. I'm not using a scrub set of tyres to get a banker in. I'm literally just going to go for the one lap. I feel that confident that I can just get through on the one lap. It may backfire at certain circumstances if I can get my words out properly, but as you can see, we actually got through in P1. We set the fastest lap of Q2. I wasn't taking that for granted though. I felt like the other drivers weren't quite showing their pace around here. We were 0.2 of a second clear of Sergio Perez, but I just feel like a 26.3. That's what Ocon, I believe, set in Q1, and he set a 1 minute 26.7, so the track conditions got a little bit slower, so I still felt that there was a lot more left that the other drivers could actually produce, so I wasn't taking that for granted. Into Q3 we go now, and our first fine lap here was a little bit scruffy, I think. I can't remember, actually, if I'm being perfectly honest with you guys. If we come across the line, it's a 126.6, so yeah. Straight away, that's 0.3 of a second down on our lap that we set in Q2. And then onto my second fine lap here. Now, we did set the fastest first sector of anybody in the session. Middle sector was also a personal best, but this final sector wasn't really hooked up. And as you can see, now going on the exit here, we're not even going to beat our Q2 lap time. We're not on form to do that. So we crossed the line, and it's a 126.39 or maybe a 126.4. But it is still P4 on the grid, so it's not all doom and gloom heading into this weekend's Grand Prix. Let's have a look, though, what the lap time was. It was 126.401, so yeah, it wasn't even as quick as I was in Q2, so I didn't quite have the pace. I pretty much hit my maximum, whereas these guys could go a little bit faster. But Sergio Perez picks up his first pole position for Force career, I believe, and that is a very, very good effort there. Just about beating the Renaults here today and just showcasing the pace that Renault seriously have in this career mode. First things first then, Claire wants to talk to me about Haas and how they're performing. I'd like to see them perform better, to be honest, because they're shite. Moving into the teammate battle, we did lose it today, but at the end of the day, as I'm going to say right now, it was Sergio's day. He got everything out of the car and clearly beat me fair and square. You know, I hit my maximum in Q2. I couldn't find any more in Q3, and it is what it is with a bucket of Rice Krispies. Now, as you can see, we have beat the rivalry with Sebastian Vettel, though we've got 3 races remaining. That gap's 2 points, so it's very, very close. We've hit tier driver acclaim level 14. Perez is only on 13 with our team acclaim on level 17. That should go up to level 18, hopefully by the end of this race, if not by the Austrian Grand Prix. And now, as you can see here, we're going to be going through the lineup and seeing what the grid looks like. So, of course, we kind of know what it is unless there's any grid penalties in there, which is awesome to see. But, of course, you can see here, it is going to be a fight between Force Career and Renault heading into this weekend. Bottas is the closest Mercedes man to doing that. Hamilton started to drop back a little bit now in this career mode, which is a little bit of a shame because I think he is my closest championship challenger, but he's not had a perfect string of races given to him, so maybe that can change. But looks like we're going to have a penalty-free Grand Prix weekend, and we do. Nobody is taking a penalty for the weekend, which is kind of nice, which just means that we don't have to do as much on that front, and we can move forwards. But as I said before, we're going to have a full wet race, then it's going to go to intermediates, then it's going to go to dry, so it is a very, very mixed race here today. Yay. Here we go then. Let's get ready to get racing then. It's onto the grid now. We've got 5 red lights, and it is going to be... Oh, this is a long light sequence, this one, and it's lights out. We go here to start the French Grand Prix. A little bit of a tentative start from everybody as we're on the full wet conditions, but eventually we get a fantastic run now, and we go side by side with Ricciardo in towards the first corner. We've jumped Ocon. We're going to break a little bit late, go around the outside, might even attack our teammate Perez here, but I decide to lift off and let Perez through, and we manage to shove off Ocon there. Back end slides a little bit now as Ricciardo tries to have a little look here. We're going to go over to attack here, nearly making contact with Ricciardo. That's a little bit cheeky on my behalf then, but I was going to cover that line a little bit late there. But look at the track conditions out there. You can hardly even see where the curbs are, and that's what I was saying when I was in my voice call with Sam. I was just literally saying I can't see curbs. As we now blast on through onto the straight here, and Perez already flying off into the distance, but crucially, we're both flying off into the distance. But lap 3 of the Grand Prix now, and the gap between myself and Ricciardo is 1.4 seconds, but the Force Koreans are out in front and having some fun, but Perez, unfortunately, is now holding me up, and I now need to get past him so we get a good exit off of the chicane there. Now we're going to open up the ERS that we've got in our back pocket, but Perez definitely doing that as well, putting the car into rich fuel mixture, but Perez there is definitely using ERS very, very wisely to defend against me, and I had to back out going in towards the high-speed right-hander. I could have probably slotted the car through there, but I decided against it, but now I was starting to get a little bit worried as you can see here that Ricciardo is now 1.2 seconds back, getting closer and closer towards the back of us. Ocon we're actually dropping in this Grand Prix. He's pretty much in close proximities with Bottas. 0.6 of a second clears them two. Now as we go onto the straight once again here, it's another fastest middle sector. But again, Perez just doing a very great job. I missed my turning completely then. Smash over the 150-meter board, so no one's going to be able to use that anymore. So I'm going to play down anyone's advantages, and that is all said and done. But as we enter lap 5, or now finish lap 5 to start lap 6, unfortunately, we hit that problem that I knew we were going to have, and this is why I wanted to pass Perez quickly. The heavy rain really didn't last as long as I thought it was. We're now already going for the intermediate tyres, but everyone has already pitted for those. I'm going to have to stay out another lap on these wet tyres and hope that I can just get enough pace in them to, well, stay in front of Ricciardo. That's my biggest bet. This was the problem that we were going to have with two Force Koreans fighting so hard versus the Renaults, who one of them was on the back of us, but the other one wasn't really on the back of us. But nonetheless, though, we are now into the pits here, and we're going to go on to a set of the intermediate tyres, and that'll take us over right towards the dry conditions. So come on, boys, want a nice quick stop from you. That's it, super lightning speed, 1.8 second pit stop. My boy's in there, and as you can see now, we're going to get out and back racing again. Perez goes through into the lead of this French Grand Prix, but Daniel Ricciardo does indeed get that undercut on us. But what's quite crucial here is that despite the undercut that Ricciardo's got, we're still very much in the mix here. Only 7/10 behind Ricciardo and 2.3 seconds behind Sergio Perez. Make that 1.3 now. It's on to lap 8 of the Grand Prix here. We're going to set ourselves up, take a wide line to make sure that we get a best run in through this chicane now as we go onto the bower here. ERS has been enabled. That's a fantastic exit through there. And I've been very cautious with Sergio Perez. If this was versus Perez, I would have backed out of it. This is Ricciardo though, so I'm going to go for it down the inside here. It doesn't work as we drop it down into 7th gear, but we've got this next right-hander and we dive it down the inside of Daniel Ricciardo, and we're back into second place of the French Grand Prix, and now we can chase after Sergio Perez. Ocon has dropped very far back now, so it's a straight 2v1 fight now between myself and Sergio Perez, and as you can see, that gap is 1.9 seconds now between myself and Daniel Ricciardo. So if I'm going to strike, I need to strike now, so that if I cost Perez any form of time here, then it does mean that he at least won't fall into any form of slipstream trap to Ricciardo. But now we're opening up the ERS here, not DRS. But you can see again, Perez is still defending heavily with the ERS from the exit. So I might have to do it somewhere else because I'm really struggling. But look, I'm still using ERS on this straight. And it's not working. Perez is just so quick in a straight line. That time though, he's gone a little bit deep though in towards the chicane. That just could be an opening. Getting very close to the back of the of my teammate here. I nearly said Racing Point, I'm not gonna lie. Now we've opened up the ERS here. Now all of a sudden we're going along side by side. And this time around, I'm not gonna play the nice games here. I'm just gonna have to go for it down the inside of Sergio Perez. Same moves we did on Ricciardo, but he gives a bit of a warrant of some space. And we're now into the lead of the French Grand Prix after 11 laps of being stuck behind my teammate. His valiant defense is over, and we can now take the lead and try and control the Grand Prix. I do feel like I've got more pace than anybody else out there at the moment, and that's coming into fruition here. Lap 14 of the Grand Prix though, and as you can see, my front left tyre is now cooking, which does mean it's time to get off these tyres and go into a set of dry tyres. There's still a bit of water flicking up, but I still feel that it's time, and we're going to box this lap now. And with only what's going to be 13 laps to go in the Grand Prix, DRS has been enabled, so a good time to do this here. I am going to go on to a set of the medium compound tyres and take them to the end of the Grand Prix. I feel like it's a tiny bit of a stretch with the mediums. They're going to be quite heavily worn because around here you're normally doing a two-stopper anyway. But I just feel it's about enough, and we should be alright to settle that through. So let's go into the pits now and get these tyres on. Ricciardo goes onto the hard compound tyres. Bottas goes onto the mediums, but there's a problem there, and that's my teammate Perez is going to have to stack up, which means he's going to lose second place to Daniel Ricciardo, and he is going to lose out third place to Valtteri Bottas there. He will rejoin in P4. It's a really big shame there, but unfortunately, this is the risk that you have when you're in these wet conditions. We've had to change from wets to inters to dries. I was compromised in the first stop. I decided to stay out though, but in these wet conditions here, when these inters turn to dries, you just can't stay out. Like, Stroll has already lost 5 seconds to us on this lap alone, so Perez would have lost, probably actually, thinking about it, might have been better if he did just stay out. Nevertheless, we're going to go ahead and do a bit of a rinse and repeat of the Canadian Grand Prix. Remember when all I saw was purple? Yeah, I'm going to be seeing a lot more purple. We set a fast lap the race so far, 130.2. That was quickly beaten by big old Danny Kvyat with a 130.4, so I'll stop that with a 130.1 and set a new fast lap for the Grand Prix so far. Crucially, of course, my teammate Perez did go onto the hard tyres. Only myself and Bottas went for the medium compound tyres, which I found rather interesting. And across the start finish line set 129.7 and set a new fast lap for the Grand Prix. On to lap 23 now, and the sun is shining, but not for Mercedes-Benz because the yellow flag is out. Norris sets a new fastest lap of the Grand Prix so far to 129.1, and Valtteri Bottas is out of the French Grand Prix. It is an engine failure that has cost Mercedes yet again, and somehow Bottas has retired from God knows how many Grand Prix this season, yet myself and Sergio Perez, I think Perez has retired from 2, and we have the worst durability on the grid. So how that works, I have no idea, but does mean now Sergio Perez has been promoted into the podium places. So as we come towards the start-finish line then, it is going to be race victory here at the French Grand Prix, and that is a beautiful way to solidify back-to-back race victories here in Formula 1. And we take that one by just under 5 seconds from Daniel Ricciardo. It was definitely the right call to go to the medium compound tyres. I still feel like the hards would have been fine. The mediums definitely did wear out heavily at the end of the race. I just felt like I could just build myself a nice cut to a gap and work with it. And that's exactly what we did. The gap was about 1.7 when we came into the pit stops. And then eventually it expanded then to just under 5 seconds overall. With maximum being about 6.5 seconds. So we definitely made use of the medium compound tyres. We could get them to the end of the Grand Prix. It was the right call. That is all that we need there. So as you can see, all the mechanics, absolutely delighted with that, and we're now going to go on to the podium here, and we're going to do as what we normally do, and take a cheeky little selfie and send it back to our peeps up north, and take the trophy with us, and celebrate that one. Also, again, a big kudos to Sergio Perez. That is now his 3rd straight podium in Formula 1. Of course, he got the podium in Azerbaijan when I crashed out. He got 3rd place at the Canadian Grand Prix, and he gets another P3 here today in France. So he's definitely on a good run of form right now, and is definitely solidifying himself as a good number 2 driver to ourselves in this Formula 1 season. As you can see though, it was only myself, Ricciardo and Perez that got into the 1:29 bar Norris, who pitted for a set of soft tyres, because a lot of people actually, surprisingly, from Magnussen down, they did a 3-stopper. So when they pitted for dries, they went on to a set of softs and then another set of softs afterwards. So really, really weird that is actually. I don't know why they did that, but hey ho, let them do their own strategy. It didn't work out for them in the end. But as we're going to go and have a look at the Drivers' Championship now, it is myself leading the way by 66 points now after Hamilton dropping more points. Daniel Ricciardo moves up to 94 points now in the Drivers' Championship, starting to creep himself up a little bit in this Formula 1 Championship, as Bottas gets overtaken by him. In the Constructors' Championship, a double podium once again means that Force Korea moved to 60 points clear now at the top of the championship, and we are definitely on course to try and solidify both the Drivers' and Constructors' Championship this season, bar any major problems or people just having an absolute blast when it came to it. In terms of struggling to get through the traffic today, this was quite an interesting one. I actually decided to kind of line away because it wasn't necessarily struggling. It was the case of my teammate was using ERS in the places that I was using ERS, and I wasn't able to overtake him in any other places, so I was just stuck behind the exact same car as what I'm driving. So yeah, it was quite annoying though. But at the end of the day, I was still really proud to see Sergio Perez on the podium. It's what we want to see. It's what we need to see consistently. And in terms of dodge, you can just see how quickly I rejected that call. She can shut up.
Great.
And she's actually happy with that. So yeah, bye-bye. As you can see then, we get a maximum 5 points versus Vettel in the outcome there. And as you can see, the races remaining, we've got 3 in terms of the rivalry, and it's 20-15 now. In terms of the acclaim then, you can see that Perez moves up to half, well, 3/4 of the way now to level 13. But our team acclaim is going to creep up just about to level 18 there. So we now move up a step in that, and we're now just 2 levels shy of level 20. Annoyingly though, I was 7 laps shy of the 100 lap total during the race weekend. And somehow again, Perez got through that race without any damage deductions, and I do. Fab. 18.3 million is what we've got though, and I'm not going to be spending that. I'm going to be investing it. So when we come to the driver transfer market, next episode of the Austrian Grand Prix, we can then solidify our money and then move on from there. But as you can see, we've got a cheeky little bit of morning boss. You know, your finances looking paying, and I'm like, yeah, I know. In terms of what I wanted to do, I'm going to do a podium celebration party. It just brings up the morale of the team, and I feel like it's worth that. But if you guys have enjoyed today's episode, though, feel free to drop it a like and subscribe to the channel if you're new around here as well to see plenty more Formula 1 2020 content. We've got 747 resource points, and I don't even think I spend them. I'm just having a look at where I want to go. But yeah, we'll quickly double check, though. I may even potentially go and do a durability upgrade, considering I've got the resource points to do it, because I seem to be averaging around about 1.3, 1.4 thousand, 1.4k points. So we're going to do an MGUH durability upgrade, which will go onto the car in time for the British Grand Prix. But for now, guys, I'm out. Take care all. Peace.